Hello and welcome to Filling in the Gaps. I'm Justin.
And I'm Darren.
Today we are going to discuss a game called Armikrog. Armikrog is developed by Pencil Test Studios, published by Versus Evil. It is a game that is $10 at base. We certainly got it for much cheaper. I think I got it for about $3. It has a 5-hour playtime, but mixed reviews, which I believe you want to talk a bit about why that might be.
Yep.
Only 952 reviews, and it's been out since 2015. The biggest thing about Armikrog, there are two reasons why I really wanted to play it. On top of it being point and click, it is made using stop motion clay animation, and it looks really good.
Yeah.
And it has the voice of Mike T. Nelson from Mystery Science Theater 3000. So that alone was like, oh, wishlist this one. And when it goes on sale, I'm going to get it. But it has remained on our to-play list. Our
short list for years, man. We bought this years ago. We'll do this one. 2 years later, we're still doing this.
That's why I think when we recently said, all right, we choose one each that's been sitting too long, and this was mine.
It's funny, though, because it's like we've got a Steam backlog, and we've got a podcast backlog now as well of stuff, because something else always comes up, like, oh, we should do this. This will be timely. And then all these poor other games get swept to the back.
I enjoy it. It's not without its faults.
Yeah.
Some of the puzzles are very obscure or take a long time to do just because of the way they're set up. But overall, it's an enjoyable game. I would say that this is one where, especially at the beginning, I would recommend having a guide or walkthrough on hand because it's very obscure. It's not what you typically expect of a point and click because it's literally just point and click.
Mm.
You sort of have an inventory, but you can't see it. You can't interact with it. There's no item combination. You use the mouse and the left mouse button. You don't even use the right mouse button for anything. That's it.
Yeah.
And that seems like, oh, well, that should be super easy. I'll have no problems. It actually makes things more confusing because we're used to having all these other tools at our disposal. So that was really rough in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that this is one of those games that it's just fun to sit for an afternoon and just get through it. If it weren't for maybe 2 puzzles, I would say this is the type of game that in a couple years I'd probably want to play again. But those 2 puzzles I'm not sure I'm going to want to do again, at least not without a guide on hand. I highly recommend it. I think that it shouldn't be mixed. I think this should be positive, at least in some way.
Yeah, I totally agree. It shouldn't be mixed. It's not a bad game.
Especially, I mean, $10 for a 5-hour game is a bit much, but I mean, we're now talking 6-7 years later, so it's always going to be on sale during, the sale times.
Exactly. Sales exist, and so you can get this for a fraction of the price. Even at the $10 mark, even for like $2 an hour kind of price mileage you get. A lot of love and effort have been put into this game. It's really well done. It's well voiced. It's got beautiful animation. Think of it as a $10 movie.
It's not even just beautiful animation. The backgrounds, the modeling.
The sets, yeah.
Everything just looks really beautiful and unique because of the way they've done it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's well worth playing. If you're going to play Armikrog, I would say do it. Stop putting it off like we did for so long. Play it and come back. If you've already played it, though, well, you can hang out with us because we're about to go into the spoiler section. My notes for this game are a bit sparse.
Mine too.
I found that I just didn't want to write down every little thing I did in the game. Oh, I got this lever. Oh, I put the lever in the lever spot, whatever we want to call it. It really started to just drag it down as I was trying to take notes. And really with point and click, this seems to be the way with me with taking notes. I take a ton of notes right in the first maybe hour, and then after that, I really lose interest because it's so much. One thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing, leads to another thing. And it isn't the key to what makes me love the game. I mean, I do love that aspect of the game, but I think that it's more the game itself. Doing all of those little things, yes, but getting a lever, putting it where the lever goes, well, that's not really a puzzle after you do it the first time. Every time you see a lever, you know, yeah.
There's a lot of levers to put in.
So what I would say is, I don't really want to go through the game bit by bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's also probably not the most interesting thing to listen to. Oh, I grabbed a lever. I put it where the lever goes. I push the lever. The door opens. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what I would rather do with this game is I'd rather focus on puzzles we liked, puzzles we didn't like, story, and just overall what we liked about the animation and the way the game looked and why this game works for us. And also a bit about why, again, we feel like it shouldn't be mixed. It should be better rated than that.
Right.
I think what I'd like to do first, actually, is deal with the story.
The intro to the game. It's such a cool intro.
It is very good.
It's like watching a Saturday morning cartoon again. It was awesome.
You are going to open with a really cool theme song.
Yeah.
That explains the whole situation.
Yeah, it explains everything. It's like, it lays out the whole story, who the people are, their companions, this is what they do, this is what they're trying to achieve, blah, blah, here's the bad guy, everything just like in a 2-minute song.
We know that there's a planet desperate for energy. They need this P energy or plutonium, something like that. Yeah. And our hero is going to be Tommy Knott.
Yeah.
And his brothers, like Vog Knott and I forget what the other ones are called. But yeah, they all are exploring the world, but they're green. So will they be able to do what needs to be done? And all of that. I do want to start here, though, by saying you looked into their other games.
Yep.
Are these characters used in another game?
No. The other game was called The Neverhood, and this is probably getting to that at the end about why it's got mixed reviews. But The Neverhood, I played it, and as far as I can see, I didn't come across the characters. Maybe they're in there at some point as a mention, but you don't play as Tommy Knott.
That's what I was wondering. I was wondering if this was meant to be a sequel, because it seems very much like it could be.
It looks very similar. Similar style, similar, it's also claymation, but yeah.
We are going to see Tommy Knott, who I'll just refer to as Tommy from now on, and his pet friend...
His dog?
Beak Beak?
Beak Beak.
As they
I love
crash.
Beak Beak.
Yeah, I figured you would. We watch as... Well, I don't even think we see the crash. We see the after effect,
yeah, the
right?
aftermath, yeah.
So they're crashed on this planet, and it's just really amazing, where they're talking to each other. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. What's that? And this, what we find out is a tongue with eyeballs on the end of it.
Yeah.
Grabs Tommy and starts winching him in. The creature has a winch
in his mouth, yeah.
And Tommy reaches inside of himself to grab some sort of winged insect or something.
Yeah.
Throws it to Beak Beak, who is able to eat it, sprout wings, which already, when I saw that, I went, okay, so that's going to be something.
Get used, yeah.
We're going to be able to do that in the game.
To be honest, I thought we were going to do more with that. I thought we were going to do other things, like other transformations. It's a shame we didn't, but yeah, fair enough.
The Beak Beak with his wings can now fly in, cut the tongue, save Tommy. They think they've escaped, but just as they find a mysterious door, well, the creature is right behind them, so they go inside. You're now stuck in here, and this is where the game really begins.
Yeah.
Though if you do look out the window, you'll see another kind of wheeled creature. It has one wheel and just a mouth and no eyes.
Yeah.
Running from the creature that we're scared of. So that indicates that we can't go back outside or the creature will get us.
And it eventually, if you look for long enough, it eventually eats it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you keep on looking out, they'll run up and down, and then eventually the big monster with all the teeth will grab one of them and just nom nom.
Oh, yeah, I didn't watch it long enough, I guess. Here we are. We're in the building, which we're going to find out. The building itself is called Armikrog. The essence of the story is that there was a couple, and they had a baby. And I'm not exactly sure. There's a whole lot in text. Did you read the whole text in the one chamber?
I think I read probably all of it, yeah, but the one where it's like behind the statue, there's all the things on the wall. Yeah, I pretty much read as much as I could.
That was a really awkward way to read it. It was just so much text, and sometimes
you had to click on the right bit of it.
Yeah, I could scroll sometimes, but if my cursor wasn't in exactly the right spot, it didn't seem to work. It was really awkward, and it just was so long and just so much that at that point I wasn't sure if it really related to anything. But it does. I believe that it's basically giving you the history of the place. That the couple also sort of crashed here or landed here, created through some soul-infusing device. The man was able to get into the water dispenser so that they could have water, but then also realized that it wasn't just a water dispenser. He could create things almost like a 3D printer.
Yeah.
And so he could create anything. Started creating tools, and then eventually created these towers, created the energy machines to make them function. So everything that we see was created by them. We also know that a creature that way too much looks like Tommy Knot is the bad guy from different animations. I like the way... I like but I don't like. Let's say it that way. The animations that we get that tell the backstory, I really like. I do like the idea of watch it, try to figure out what's happening, and then later in the game, they'll actually be translated. But I didn't really like the idea of, now go back through each area at the end. It's good in a resolution way, but it's kind of clunky and slow in a gameplay way.
It felt a bit like padding as well, like just how can we... And I get it from a design standpoint as well. So how can we make the most of the sets that we've built? So let's have that, make them run through it again. That was one of the negative things that people were saying in their reviews, is like, it was all backwards, gibberish, I couldn't understand anything. You made us go through it all again. To be honest, I didn't mind. I quite enjoyed having all the trolley system set up and just going around and going to that big octopus tree thing and clicking on it and understanding the story perfectly this time. It kind of slots everything together. It wasn't a huge burden.
It felt a bit to me because I'm right at the end. It's like being at the climax of the story and then throwing in an extra episode of backstory in between.
Yeah.
I think it needed to be done a little bit differently or earlier. What I would have suggested was have a translation switch near each one so that you're not having to backtrack right at the end of the game. I do like watch it first, try to understand it, and then we'll actually give you the translation. It's something that to me was missing from other games we played, like Aporia, where we were kind of putting it together, but guessing sometimes because we were only getting the images.
Right.
I do like the animation. So you've got the claymation animation, then you have the more traditional animation going on with that. And later at the end of the game with the mother as she's talking to us. And the ghost-like stuff as well. I think that might have been more traditional. I'm not sure. As we go through, though, we see the evil creature, which clearly looks like Tommy Knot. So obviously it's going to be one of his brothers.
Yeah.
Because they are the only characters we've been introduced to. Though we don't really know him. And I do feel like that's something that could have been done earlier. We didn't really know any of the other characters. I suspect that they wanted to make a series of these games.
Right.
And that they would introduce us to the characters and get more about each character with each story. And it's a bit sad that we don't, because I would have liked more of this. The brother, I believe, is Vognot.
Vognot, yeah.
He was doing what Tommy is doing, trying to find the energy to save their planet.
Mm-hmm.
He must have sensed it in his scanners or something. So he came here and thought it was the mother, killed the father, the guy who created most of this place.
Yeah.
Killed the mother, realized that she wasn't the power. I mean, the mother tried to do all sorts of things to save the baby and stop everything happening, but couldn't in time. Just had enough, I guess, time and intuition to save the baby, whose name is P. P period. That's it.
Yep.
Was able to save P, and that basically leads to where we are. Vognot wants the baby because the baby is actually the one that can magically create the P-tonium energy that we need.
Yeah, just burps it right up or something like that.
Only when happy, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Which we will get to that. And that's pretty much the story. We get to the end. I mean, it's mostly Tommy trying to figure out his way through all of these towers. You have him find the baby within the first tower, taking care of the baby in a sort of a way. And then basically puts the baby inside.
Yeah.
And goes all the way around to get back to the first tower, where the thing that was very frustrating me because I just couldn't get inside of it, that jar.
Oh, the jar that you don't get, that you're introduced to right at the very beginning and you don't get in until the very end.
Exactly. Also, where did the jar go?
I don't know. Where did the jar go?
It didn't seem to break. There wasn't glass around.
Oh, right. Okay.
Nothing picked it up. But when we get there at the end, it's magically gone.
Yeah.
I guess the ghost of the mother did that for us.
Yeah, of course she did.
But just as we're with the crystals that the baby gives us, just about to lay them out and escape, Vognot appears with a gun, and it's under one of the vacuum tubes. Tommy hits a switch. Out goes Vognot. The crystals have formed, or give the energy to form the robot mother. It's kind of an image of the mother who will step on Vognot, and then they can take off. With Vognot stuck to the bottom of the foot.
To the foot, yeah. Squished.
Sensors picking up. The other brother is in trouble, so they're going to go save
Part 2,
him.
Which never came.
Well, not yet.
Never
say never.
Maybe 2030.
Never say never. It is possible. But that's pretty much the story. Because Tommy takes care of the baby, the mother and the baby both feel comfortable with him taking them. The baby and the 5 crystals is created should have enough energy to fuel the whole planet.
Mm-hmm.
Happy ending.
Yeah.
I like it. Like you said, this is very Saturday morning cartoon. It's ridiculous, it's silly, but it's also funny and cute in a way that I find very appealing.
Yeah, because it's done well, you know. I mean, that's the thing. It's voiced well and it looks good. So, yeah, I can believe it. I'm along for the ride.
I would like more, but that's always me. I always want more. But I think we could have gotten more with the actual characters. We could have gotten a bit better flashback where we really get to know the characters a bit more of the mother and father instead of just, he creates stuff, she saved the baby, and that's kind of all we get from them.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have gotten a bit more from that. I would have liked to have seen a bit more actual interaction between Tommy and P, because pretty much all we see is him take P out, fix the mobile, and then shove the baby right back in.
I go back to sleep.
It's almost like, well, the baby trusts you because you're the only person around. There's no one else.
Right, yeah. And how's it been surviving on its own for this long?
I'm guessing that it hasn't been very long.
Right, because it looks like it was in a crashed room or something like that, didn't it? Yeah.
And everything was still smoking as though it had just been destroyed. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and assume it's been a day.
Fair enough. But yeah, opposed to that though, I think for me, the game didn't wear out its welcome. I think anymore, especially with some of the puzzles in the inventory, I'm glad it took 5 hours.
I'm not saying I want more puzzles. I wanted more story. I wanted more animation. Because that is the selling point to the game. That is the key to the game. There were all sorts of other things like those statues, which we're going to get to this puzzle later. The statues where you have to make the lights match. That's a whole nother series of those guys. I was like, well,
who are they?
Who are they? Why are their statues here? There just seems to be so much more that they could have added. Now, obviously, that would have raised the price, the time. I understand that. But I think that if I was to get a second game and only got this amount, I mean, we're pretty much getting the cutscene at the beginning, we're getting the cutscene at the end, and not much else. I would like more of that. I think that that is the selling point to what they are developing. I think, yes, you're right. The puzzles, I don't want any more. I think that that took long enough. I wouldn't want that to overstay its welcome, but I would like a bit more.
Like another cutscene in the middle kind of thing.
Yeah. A couple cutscenes in the middle would have been good to have, instead of doing the storytelling the way they did, if they had done that with the stop motion again and actually make it look like a flashback, I think that would have looked a bit nicer and felt a bit nicer. But also, I just want to know more about these characters, because at this point, everybody feels very two-dimensional, which is Saturday morning cartoon, but it's almost a bit below Saturday morning cartoon. Because again, I don't really know anything about the parents or P. I don't really know anything about Vognot before Vognot went crazy and tried to kill everyone. I want a bit more. But it still is unique. It still is special because of what it is, the way it looks, and the way it's been done. Let's get into the puzzles now.
Sure.
Let's get into puzzles we hate first.
Okay.
Let's talk about the light matching puzzle.
Okay. You know what I did? I solved it in one move.
In one move?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll put the video up right now of me doing it. I was like, is this a puzzle? Oh, cool. This is going to be really tough. Click. Oh, I finished it. I did it. All you got to do is move one orb. I think it's I don't know what it was in the video. I think it's the fourth statue along. You click it once and you rotate it once and it's solved.
That's why I would always have a guide with me from now on, because they can always tell you from the starting point.
Right.
But once you mess with it, once you try it, that's over. Now, you could save before every puzzle.
Right.
Which in this game I probably should have done. I did find the save
They don't
UI...
make it easy. They're still using... It seems like... This is the one problem I have with the game is the Neverhood was... you can run it through like Scum VM, like for the old Full Throttle games and old LucasArts kind of style. That DOSBox kind of thing. This seems... It's got the whole kind of Scum layout and UI, which for a 2015 game shouldn't be a thing. The save system sucks for this game. And the options menu in general is terrible. Yeah. You've got save, load, and quit. And that's it.
And there were times where I seem to have inadvertently gotten myself out to the main menu and then realized I hadn't saved properly.
Yes, me too. I did that once.
And had to go back and do that part
Because
again.
it doesn't seem to, or at least the autosave doesn't seem to work well.
I don't think there is an autosave.
No, okay, fair enough then. Because that was the mistake that I made the first time was, looks like I'm watching the intro again, which, fair enough. I'll go and watch the intro again and do the first part. But, yeah, you have to manually save every time, which is a bummer.
I didn't like this puzzle primarily because there were the two on the end that you can't control. The only way you can control them is by pulling the big switch.
Now, you're talking,
all right. So
I don't understand anything about this puzzle.
You have your 5 guys standing there, the statues.
Yep.
I love the look of it. I love the fact that you see the colors when the light is on, but then when you turn the light off, you have to make the colors glow the right color.
Yeah.
This would have been a nightmare for you because you're always terrible about matching colors.
Yeah.
The thing is, there are certain colors that you can't mix and match, right? So your base colors here, red, yellow, blue.
Yeah, but you got to make purple and stuff like that as well, don't you?
Those you can mix.
Yeah.
But to get red, it has to be red on top of red.
Right, okay, gotcha.
There's always, in this puzzle, there's always one on top of another. So to do red, it has to be red on top of red. Blue has to be blue on top of blue. There is no yellow, so you don't have to worry about that one. Each crank will turn 3 planets. And the problem is that all the way to the right side of the screen, there are 2 that none of the cranks work on. The only thing that can do that is the big lever, which changes everything. So I could figure out a way pretty early on to set up the first 4, but that last one was always a problem because I didn't have a crank to just turn that one more.
Okay.
And I don't know how long I messed around with this one. I didn't save beforehand, so when I looked at the guide, it was that same thing.
You have to do it again?
Yeah. Oh, and this is one of the times where I didn't save properly, so I had to do it again. It's not impossible, but it is very frustrating. Something about the way this one is, it's very difficult for me to keep track of the motion of all of the planets, which way is this group rotating, and also which one is the color underneath, because the color underneath is the one that's going to be moving when you move the big lever. I mean, they'll all be moving, but you need to keep track of the underneath one because the base one is the important one.
So the guide doesn't just say, go in and move the 4th one along once.
It does something like that, yeah.
Okay, right.
But because I had already messed around with it.
Oh, you had to get it back into a position where...
How would I ever know if I was back into position?
Yeah, exactly.
That would be harder than actually solving the puzzle.
So there's no reset button?
I didn't find one.
Oof, that's rough.
That it seems to be the case with most of this game. There doesn't seem to be a reset button. And could use one. So that would be number 1, because that took me forever. The final puzzle of matching the symbols to the words, where you have to go back to look at all the octopus elevators. Like I said, I like the idea of it, but it felt like the wrong time to have to go do all of that stuff, given where we are in the story. But also, you are looking for one symbol in each video, and the video has no way to speed it up, to pause it, to exit.
And no way just to rewind that little bit that you missed.
Exactly.
And so I had to go back and watch them. Maybe some of them I had to watch 3 times because I was trying to sketch them as I'm watching it, and I couldn't sketch it quick enough.
I tried that the first time and realized it just wasn't going to happen, so I started recording it on my phone.
That's what I should have done.
That helped out a lot. And in fact, in doing that, I was able to remember 3 out of 4. There was only one I had to double check.
Right.
I just didn't like the video function at that point. It needed to have something so that you could start it over or pause or rewind, because otherwise you have what is it, a minute and a half?
Yeah, because even some of the symbols were right at the beginning, and then if you missed it, you had to watch the rest of the video. That's right, and then you could restart it. Not even even just a stop button, just to say, okay, I've gone past it. Stop. Let's go back to the beginning right now. Yeah,
did not exist.
Definitely a flaw there. I just found some of the puzzles to be a bit tedious, like the old one where you have to rotate the dial and slide things around, and the first one was easy. The second one was more difficult because it was bigger and more complicated, and by the third one you didn't even have a design to look for unless you saw the blackened out, kind of the darkened image at the top. You had to guess what slotted in there. They just took a long time, like the ones that open those doors.
I know exactly the ones you're talking about. The one, is that the one where you have to do Vognot as the image?
Yeah.
You do get to see that image.
Oh, where is it?
If you take Beak through a little tube that's right there. In fact, I think you have to, because I think that...
I probably just didn't look at it, to be honest.
That elevator, the octopus, will give you a piece for watching the video, which you need to go charge something up. Off to the right of the screen is that image, the Vognot image, which I realized what was happening, took the picture of it.
Right, okay.
And with my phone, okay. And so I was able to do it a bit better. That one was definitely more confusing because also you're now putting something in the top. So you had to pick the pieces that were right side up as opposed to going,
But the big stuff, like, what was that kind of weird spirit journey thing that you did? Do you have any idea what was going on? Like,
I suspect that it's meant to be Tommy watching.
Okay.
That they have some sort of psychic connection.
Okay, that would make sense.
I'd rather they wouldn't have done that, though, because I found
to look at.
The inverted image was really difficult sometimes to see what I was supposed to be looking at.
And certainly I had no idea what I was picking up, like when I was the dog.
It
was usually a lever of some kind.
They had a good indicator of these concentric circles that were flashing.
Yeah, which were sometimes quite hard to see as well.
They were, but at least I think they realized there was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect this is one where they put it there, thought this will be no problem.
Yeah.
And then as people play tested it, didn't find anything.
Yeah.
And realized they need to put something. So at least there is that.
Right.
But again, I'd rather it just not be the inverted image. I just found that very difficult to see what I was supposed to be seeing and to know what I was supposed to be doing. The good thing about that, though, was that with that, you could see things. So for one of the early combination puzzles, the images glow if you're looking through that inverted Beak vision, which they aren't normally. Could have been done a little bit better. But I like the idea of it. By the way, according to the guide, that puzzle changes randomly depending on your game.
That final slide square one.
The 3-picture combination that is on the second floor right next to Abraham Lincoln. I did roll my eyes. I didn't mind that so much. But the punny names that are based on U.S. presidents, it just seems so out of place. But that apparently is random depending on, each game. It's random.
Okay.
So you get different images. I think this is the only one that's true for, though. Because most of the other things, it seemed to be, at least in the guide, step 1, step 2, step 3. It wasn't just go look at this image. It is push this one 3 times, push this one 4 times. But that one, you can't. You have to find the images. So I do like that. I like that you have to look around for stuff.
Building the robot, that was one that I didn't like.
We needed to be able to zoom in on the robot. I know exactly when you talk about the petroglyph image.
To lower the nest with the eggs on it and stuff like that.
Those images on the rocks were way too far away. And I wasn't sure, so I did double check with the guide.
I didn't even know which one I was supposed to do. I think I did 3 of them before I got the right one.
There is the line that has been scratched in the rock. there's only one where the image hasn't been cut. It goes between it. It goes like between the leg parts, but it doesn't cover over any of the leg parts, which was my suspicion. But I wanted to double check before I wasted 20 minutes.
Yeah, like I did.
On the wrong one.
Yeah.
But there were definitely tiny little things you had to see, like the hand.
There were variations that were very similar, yeah.
Very similar. Like, is the hand facing me or is it sideways?
Yeah.
Because that's the only difference.
Yeah.
It's very spot the difference. I do think that the choices you're given would probably lead you to look at that one anyway, that specific image.
Right.
But it would be very frustrating at first to not know which one you're supposed to be looking at.
Yeah.
So again, double check just before I tried it.
One thing that got me right from the very beginning of the game that annoyed me was you can't push a button. You have to use Beak Beak's tail. Like, come on. That really annoyed me, man. That set a bad taste in my mouth from the very beginning of the game. I was like, oh, God, we're in for one of these. Luckily, it didn't come up. I mean, it comes up often, but you know to use Beak Beak from now on. But I was stuck on that first one for a long time. Like, why can't I push it? Why can't I push it? Why can't I push it? And then, I don't know why, I just had Beak Beak and tried it. And then it works. It's like, oh, really? Like, Tommy can't push a button?
I agree. It didn't really bother me as much, though, because I figured it out very quickly. I will say, though, there were a number of times where I had a lever and a place to put a lever, but it wouldn't let me because it wasn't time for that lever yet.
Right. I think I know what you're talking about. Down the hole where the water pipes are. There was one time where you go down, you take the kind of octopus elevator all the way down to the bottom. There's a door on your left, a door on your right, and some pipes. I had one, although I think I have one because there's no way to check your inventory. I'm pretty sure I had one, but it wasn't for that door. It was for another door. They need an inventory system for this, man, or a way to look at what you've got. That is I don't know why in an inventory-based puzzle game, they don't have an inventory. That's baffling. Like, what's the logic behind that?
I think they just wanted to make it as simple for them as possible. I don't understand why they would do it any other way. As far as mechanics, there are a few mechanics that I found very frustrating. One was the vacuum tubes.
Yeah.
I found it very awkward to click to get out of the trolley the green trolley that you're going around. So when you get to a platform, there are two vacuums. You have to get sucked up into one and drop down to the other. But it took me forever to figure out how to get out of it the first time. And even once I figured it out, it seemed a very specific place that I had to click to make it work. And this could have been saved by just putting an image of
an arrow up or something like
that.
A
button or, an arrow to click. Something to actually touch. Because I had no idea.
I just rode the cart to the end and it seemed to always work. Like if I went right to the end of the line, I would just automatically go up.
Really? That did not work for me. The cart would just keep bumping against the platform.
That's annoying as well. Like, I want to just enjoy the ride and just click on where I want to go and then look, just take my hands off and just watch going around. But every time you hit a junction, it's that, and it won't go, and you've got to click on it again to make it go. I understand that as a mechanic when, you have a junction where you might want to go up or you might want to go down, right? And so you imagine you're coming in from the side and you hit a junction and you might want to go diagonally up or diagonally down. So it's stopping you there and bouncing around. But when it's a straight line and it's just like there's just a connection made and you're going to the end of that line anyway, but it makes you click through every single bit. Like, just it's those small quality of life decisions that the developers make about things that make you think, why? I don't understand why they couldn't just allow you to click right through it to the end and just enjoy a smooth, beautiful bit of animation with great scenery and enjoy the ride. Like,
along with that would be the times where I had to solve a puzzle by moving the disc.
Oh, that hamster wheel thing?
No, not that. I'm still on the trolley.
Okay.
There are different discs, but I have to go to a different screen.
Yes, to another screen and guess where it's rotated to. I hated that puzzle. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Let me go up. All right, let me go back. What's moved? Let me go up. How much has it moved? Let me go back. That I really don't like that at all.
Yeah, yeah. So what did you think of the hamster wheel puzzle?
I didn't mind it.
I was stuck for a long time. I was stuck for ages. It is so simple. Once I got it, I was like, oh my God, I'm stupid. But I was trying everything, man. Like, what's going on? And then not actually just looking. The code is right in front of you. All you got to do is
match the windows.
Yeah. Let's look through the round window, Darren. Oh my God, it's just so dumb. Oh, no, not it. I'm so dumb. Yeah, it's a really simple puzzle. But the other one, and I made a mountain out of a molehill on the second one as well, where you had to like line up the track. Like there's like a maze puzzle thing that you got to get the maze in line. Again, I was overcooking it. It was just as simple as the first one, really. Just all you had to do was just go around, go back around, go. It's like turning a dial on a rotary phone, more or less.
The other one for me, the big one for me, would be the image swapping. There's a cannon and 4 faces, and you have to create the design that Thomas Jefferson drew for you.
You're talking about the puzzle where you shoot a ball and you get the quill?
No.
No, because I like that puzzle.
No, that connects stuff from the previous president, and the colors. The colors were the thing that got me at first because I didn't realize, I'm supposed to
where
look.
You see them, yeah.
I'm supposed to look somewhere else for this one. But the thing that comes after that. So you take the quill to Thomas Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I'm free. And he draws this shape. There are 4 lines. 2 are dark, 2 are white.
Oh, and you got to, it's like a rotation puzzle, and you got to like line up the...
Yeah,
the 2.
But it's not really a rotation puzzle. There's a circle.
Mm-hmm.
So there are, I think, 6 points where the images can go on the outside. There are 6 points, I think, on the outside where the images can go, and also right in the center.
Mm-hmm.
The one face is distressed, and you can connect white lines from that one. The cannon, it's dark lines. I didn't really understand this puzzle.
I knew what I had to do, but I forgot the colours, and I did it backwards the first time. So I had the white lines on one side and the dark lines on the other. It was supposed to be dark on the first part and then white on the other.
I understand that whatever one seems to be on the outside is the one I can move.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to go to one set location. But I didn't understand why sometimes I could get the cannon to connect with dark lines to 2, but sometimes to only 1.
Yeah.
Same thing with the distressed one. Why sometimes 1 white line would connect and sometimes it'd be 2. I just didn't understand this puzzle. I didn't understand the mechanics. I totally used a walkthrough for this one. I saved beforehand and luckily was able to use that where it just told me what to click. Even after clicking, it's not one of those where, oh, now I understand what the puzzle is about. I still don't understand.
Mm.
Did you just do it until it happened?
No, I knew what I was doing. I think the logic was the guy with like the open mouth, he could connect 2 of the lines together. And I don't remember exactly. It felt good to me. I felt all right doing that puzzle. But I just, like I said, I just forgot that it was dark lines that came from the left into white lines on the right. So I put them backwards. And then when it wasn't working, I was like, what's going on? And then I went back and looked at the symbol again. I was like, oh, I put it backwards. So I just changed it around. It's just like one of those sliding puzzles again, where you just got to slide them in the middle and slide them out to the sides. Every time you clicked on one, if there was a space available, it would move to it. Granted, what it needs is like placement holders for each character or symbol, whatever you want to call it, to like show you where it could possibly move to, because there's no symbol, there's no placement holder on the disc, so you're like, where is it moving to? But yeah, there was like 6 things around the edge and 1 in the middle. Yeah, it was fair enough.
It also didn't connect to the story in any way. We have the cannon, but we were shooting birds with it. Yeah. We weren't shooting whatever those faces were. So it just felt completely out of place to me. Whereas the one I know we need to talk about, is the baby mobile.
It was fun the first time.
Was it?
I enjoyed it the first time. I did not when the baby came out again for the second time, and I was like, "You're making me do this again? Oh, come on!"
And welcome to your third time.
Yeah, I like the tune. I like the song.
That's part of my problem. I don't.
I like the song, so it didn't bother me that much.
I think I had a few problems with the puzzle. One, I don't have a problem with the way it looks. It looks amazing.
Yeah, it does look great.
Each of the little pieces you're putting on looks great.
Yeah.
Though I did have some trouble with a couple times where they would get stuck being sideways or upside down, and I couldn't seem to adjust
Hang it properly, yeah.
The song didn't seem to play through like a song. It's like they took a song and cut it up.
They did, yeah.
And that doesn't feel right. It feels like if you're going to make this kind of puzzle, it should be a song that I could hear through and I could hear the different parts. And again, like with the video, once you hit play, you have to let it go all the way through. I mean, you can stop the song at least, but you can't just click on the parts you need to hear.
Oh, you can.
Can you?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Because every part is like the circle is like, imagine it's like a pipe divided up, yeah?
Yes.
You can click on a section of the pipe and it'll play that part of the song.
Will it?
Yeah.
Oh, that would have made my life so much easier.
Because I didn't realize you could. I was just letting it run for the first time, and by my second or maybe third time doing the same puzzle, I started experimenting, being like, "God, there's got to be a way to do this." And you can click on different parts of the pipe to hear that part of the song again.
Okay, yeah, that would have made my life much easier. So yeah. I was just sort of guessing my way through, because I thought I had to let it play the whole way through every time, and much of the songs. Like, you'll have 3 that seem to start out the same exact way.
Yeah.
So you have to listen all the way through for the one thing that'll make it different.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, okay, so let's take away my problem, because obviously that wasn't. My other problem would be that there's too many other sounds bleeding in. We have the baby crying, which is irritating. But I'm also... Maybe you didn't have this experience, but I could still hear the regular music playing in the background.
I think I could too, yeah.
That should never happen in a puzzle where I'm trying to listen to the song.
Yeah. Also
be listening to the main song going at the same time.
Yeah, it's definitely there, but it's more muted, but you can still hear it. Yeah.
Really frustrating. By the third time, I had just kind of given up. I would guess... No, it didn't work that way. Rotate them all one to the right.
Right.
Until the pieces just started to fit.
Because, I mean, that's a good mechanic about this puzzle, though, is when you go around, if you got it right, the little toy stays hooked on.
Yeah.
If you get it wrong, it falls off.
If it didn't, I would have rage quit.
Because it's almost like a game of Mastermind in that sense, where it's just like, well, I got half of them right. It's just a case of moving them around a little bit. So even if you were completely like tone deaf and you didn't understand music or whatever, you can still do this puzzle.
I would have appreciated if the pieces in the back were different.
Mm-hmm. Because I thought you had to match it.
So did I. Wasted a lot of time.
It would make sense. Like,
wasted a lot of time going, wait, are these rats not matching the way that I thought? Let me switch those.
Yeah.
Please don't have babies crying throughout a whole puzzle. It's not pleasant.
So, were there any other puzzles that stuck out that you didn't like?
Not that I can think of at the moment. I would like to get into some that I did enjoy. I think that it'd be good to talk about things we did like. Mm-hmm. First off, I want to say that I am very impressed with how much they are doing with point and click, where it literally is just click. Mm-hmm. There's no inventory. There's no combination matching.
Oh, I'm glad there's no inventory mixing.
Well, you couldn't do that. And I think that's the only reason they can get away with this, is there isn't any mix and matching. If there was, then you would need to have an inventory system.
Yeah.
But I really respect, it wasn't always, I think, the best choice, but I really respect the fact that they did make it so all you're doing is just clicking around, and that seems like it wouldn't be a game.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like that would just be visual novel, but this very much is a game, and there's very much puzzle elements. There's all sorts of mini puzzles that we are doing throughout, and the visuals. I love the hamster wheel one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fantastic. Though the trolley has some mechanic issues, game-wise, it's a really interesting mode of travel. It looks very cool. They did a great job of making sure that the characters actually look like they are where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
They've done that with tricks of probably lighting, or maybe they actually even took the figure and put it in there to make that work. That looks great. So I love all of that stuff, and just the amazing stuff they did with different types of puzzles visually, I think is really, really good. I really like the first elevator was a bit weird. I don't understand why it appeared when it did. I'm very glad that it did.
The first elevator, you mean the first, like,
the tentacle, yeah. Because you move the... I love...
Oh, man, we haven't talked about those things. I know exactly what you're going to say.
The fuzzy orange guys.
Yeah, they look great. They look
so
amazing.
And you get that right early on. And that's a great thing. Oh, we have this creature. It looks cute. We're going to use it like a cube.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to move it forward, move it back. You can climb on top of it or go over it. You can use it to block a door so that it doesn't shut.
Mm-hmm.
All sorts of little things you could do with it. But they've given it life in a way that's cute and looks really good.
Yeah, because it really contrasts well with the clay, because this is made out of like felt or something like that, and it just looks, it's really well done, man. It's so good.
But that first puzzle, I really like the fact that what they did in the beginning was they trapped you into a tiny room.
Yeah.
Because even though I was frustrated with it, because I wanted more things to be able to do mechanically, they were showing me that this is all you get. And so you get the first room, you have to be able to get your way out of that first little room. And then you have sort of 3 rooms to work with. And then you have the tunnel to work with. And so they've taught you a lot of little mechanics here right in the beginning. They scaffold you up pretty well. There's not a lot to scaffold, so you would think that they wouldn't even need to, but I'm glad they did. If they immediately started you with a huge area to go through, it would be too overwhelming. And I think they did a great job of having the tower. Each part feels like it belongs together as part of the whole, but also we are only get a section at a time so that we don't become too overwhelmed.
Yeah. No, it never gets out of control, basically. You're always kind of tunneled a little bit, but in a good way.
I did find with the elevators, I love the elevators. I love the way that they look. Sometimes the clicking on and off was a bit of an issue, but I love the idea of it. I, however, the first time didn't realize that I could go up another level.
Yeah.
I thought the Abraham Lincoln section was all I got.
Yeah.
And so I was very frustrated because I had only been given one image. How dare you? How dare you? The guide said, oh, well, take it up to the next level. Or the third, even one above that. Oh, okay, well, that's a totally different aspect then. Yeah, going up there, being able to get the crank. That room with the glass jar and the crystals, that's the final thing.
I kept going back into that room. Can I use it yet? Can I use it yet? Can I use it yet?
Can I put Beak in the vacuum? No, can't figure a way how to do that. Can I put the baby there? No, can't do that. The cranking of the door that rotates so you have different rooms, I just love.
It's got such a feel to it. It's got weight when you crank it. It's really well done.
The speed of it, the sound effects.
Mm-hmm.
The look of it, it just works very well.
Yeah.
And then you've got the fact that more than one room is there. I think that is fantastic. I love that whole idea, the whole labyrinth idea of open the door one way, it's one thing. open it a different way, it's something else. We get that here.
Yeah. When I did this room, I immediately thought of Riven because the sound that you make when you're cranking it is the same. There's a puzzle in Riven that's really similar to this, where it's a room, you push a button, it rotates a room, you can walk into it, and then there's an exit. But if you hit the button a couple more times, it'll give you another exit. It's got the same feel, even the same sound of pushing that button sounds really similar to the crank on this room. So when I did that, I was like, I wonder if it's one of these types of puzzles. And then, oh, sure enough, you've got 2 more doors to check. Oh, no, not 2 more. You've got 1 more door and the crystal switch goes on. Yeah. So you got 3 things. So it's like making the most out of an area when you're on a limited, like, design set or whatever. Yeah, it's great.
You also have the ghost father who will give you cryptic hints. Yeah. I really like that. That actually did help me a few times.
Yeah, he definitely points you in the right direction.
Especially when, like, early game, he says something like, you have all you need to cross the threshold. It's like, oh, okay, I actually have everything. I'm just missing something. I need to do something. I really like that aspect of the game. I didn't mind the sliding puzzle so much. By the last one, it was a bit much just because I feel like they kept adding more pieces. So there just wasn't enough room to move stuff.
Yeah.
So it goes back to some of the other games we played before where, oh yeah, I've got to move everything over here to move it back over here so that I can get the one piece I need to move it back. We've had that before in games like House of Da Vinci and the like.
Yeah.
I enjoy that kind of puzzle, though. I think the mechanic need to be tweaked a little bit. I think it would have been better if it was more like click and it would just move. I think being able to move more than one at a time would have saved me a load of time.
Because it looks like there's space in the little like receptacle thing for two.
But sadly, no. There's only one little hole. Like there's a little circle for where each one could go. So there's only one there. So I knew that was probably the case, but I was very disappointed because I knew that was going to make that take a bit longer. What about some of the puzzles that you enjoyed?
I'm trying to think now. Well, I really enjoyed the statue puzzle because it was one click and it was done. I liked the one of my favorite puzzles was just because it was funny and it was just kind of dumb and it was easy. Was that the Abraham Lincoln ant thing, whatever his name was?
The clicking.
Yeah, the clicker, and then I wrote down the clicks, how many clicks for each one, and I was like, where am I going to get to use this? Then I found the cannon, and I was like, okay, I'm in. And I did it. It's like, oh, you can change the colors of these. I've got to find something else. I
didn't even realize you could change the color. That the guide helped me with that because I knew I was doing the clicks right. I had been waiting for hours to use that. It had been like 2 hours now. Come on, I can use it.
Yeah,
but no, I couldn't. I don't even remember. Do you remember where we get the color?
It's in the same level as this. So basically, if you go left from the cannon and you keep going left, I think there's something in it's that way anyway. It's in this area. You find the colors because he comes out with his scroll and it's like it's got the 3 seals down.
Oh right, it's on the scroll,
and so you got the colors there.
Which I was a bit worried
because all he says is, what does he say? Bully.
No, that's a different one.
Was that a different one? I still don't understand what that was about.
I believe that it's meant to be Roosevelt, but
is he famous for saying bully? I've got no idea. Oh, he is. Okay,
I'm guessing so, but I don't know what purpose it served in the game. It really
maybe it's an inside joke for the developers or something like that. I've got no idea because that really confused me.
Unless they're making a reference to the movie The Ant Bully, but I doubt that they would be doing that.
I'm trying to think of the puzzles now. To be fair, the puzzles for me weren't the main. That wasn't really why I enjoyed this game in the end. It wasn't for the puzzles, which is weird because it's a puzzle game. But I just felt like a lot of the puzzles had been done before, and they were all right. But I just want, like you said earlier, I just wanted to see more of the world, and I wanted to do more. Yeah, I wanted more animation and more. I felt the story was fine. It was good enough for me, but I wanted to see more, visually. Because what they'd made was great. An extra level would have been good. Like an extra area. But that would probably be, budget.
And time.
Because they were on... This was a Kickstarter as well. Did you find the Kickstarter room?
Probably not.
You take Beak Beak through a tunnel and he pops out the other side and it's just like names firing across the ceiling.
Oh, yeah, I did actually.
Yeah. So,
which I checked the guide. Are these names important?
Yeah, I thought, are these names important until I saw B-Boy 75 and I'm like, yeah, this is not. This is the Kickstarter room. But there weren't that many names on there. So maybe that was like the top tier kind of $5,000 guys.
We do, however, get some more bits of the world through our exploration, which I like. This part with the cannon, when you use the lever right there, the purple area accordions down and gives you new areas to look at. I really enjoyed that. That was a cutscene. It just wasn't a story cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
You do get that bit when you're in the green trolley and you're going around and you see the third tower from the outside and you get the full shot of it. That looks pretty great. I enjoy that part too. That is just the type of thing that we'll probably always want more of, especially you. Because you love looking at the environments. And that's probably why the trolley part doesn't bother you as much, because you're very much, I'm going to look at the environment and walking sim style of play.
Yeah.
I think I would agree with you for the most part about the puzzles. I think there were a number of times where I had to go back and forth that I didn't like as much. It felt a bit padded, but it also felt a bit frustrating. Like, I've got to get all the way in the trolley to go all the way back to double check I have the clicks right, because for some reason I think that's wrong. That can feel a bit old after a while. And I think that that's part of the problem with the end. If I hadn't had to keep going back and forth for some other things, maybe doing that last part, exploring all the octopus tentacles and getting those symbols again, wouldn't have felt quite so bad. But I felt like I'd been doing that the whole game.
Right.
It's like, okay, I'm minutes from the end and I have to go do it again, and I have to go do it all the way through. I like the matching puzzles, like the petroglyph matching puzzle. I just would have liked to have been able to see it a bit better. And that's really the thing. I think that there are a lot of decent puzzles. Like you said, maybe not the most original, but I don't necessarily need them to be original. Sometimes it feels good to have a game you can kind of burn through, and that's kind of what this game felt like to me. So for me, that didn't really bother me. Having images that you have to go back for, that does bother me a bit. Especially, like we said before, with the long videos you have to watch without being able to pause or exit early.
Yeah.
But I felt most of the puzzles felt okay to me. And that's really something. I think even the light puzzle, even though I found it very frustrating and I just would have loved to have been able to just control the last set, I knew what I was doing. I'm just terrible at those type of games, those type of puzzles. They always get me.
I got stumped on the crystal puzzle at the end as well, when we finally do get into the bell jar.
I had a bit of trouble because I didn't seem to quite understand how to put the crystals in.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're meant to go here, but is there an order? And I'd put them down and they just seem to float behind the thing instead of going in. But once I got the first one to lock in, then it was fine.
Right.
But it was a little weird.
What I was going to say was, if you like this kind of game, and I think you own this game, there's another game called, it depends how you say it. I've always called it Luminosity, but it's maybe Luminosity. I think you have it. It's a game, rather than claymation though, they've built an entire set out of cardboard, so it's all handmade cardboard animation stuff. And it's a puzzle game that kind of reminded me of Armikrog, in a sense, when I was playing this, because I still haven't finished it. And I think that's on our list.
It should be if it's not. I love those kind of environments. Built out of cardboard, built out of real world elements. So yeah, if I don't have it, I will.
Yeah.
But my guess would be I do have it already.
Pretty sure.
As far as the game itself, the mixed ratings.
As far as I can tell, it's just a bunch of Neverhood fanboys who say it's not the Neverhood, so I don't like it. And I think that's really unfair.
Did you get a chance to play Neverhood then?
Yeah, so, I have played the Neverhood. Neverhood is old. It came out in like 1996 or something like that. But I can understand why people are disappointed in Armikrog after playing Neverhood. Neverhood came out like what? So 96-ish. What's that? Like 10 years? No. 20 years before Armikrog came out almost. 19 or 20 years before. And the Neverhood looks fantastic. It's really, really good. But it had like the full support of like the DreamWorks studio behind it. You know, it had money coming out of his ears. And it had a whole slew of developers working on it. Not one guy kickstarting it, you know, to a few thousand backers. What the Neverhood does is it has first person parts in it as well. So imagine claymation, but you're now inside the character, moving three-dimensionally through those environments. It's pretty sick, man. So yeah, it is great. It does have a slide puzzle in it, a slide square puzzle in it. So that was a red flag for me.
Is that where you
finished out? Yeah. But yeah, the inventory is the same. It goes in the chest. And you're just a guy that wakes up in a weird place. There's no voice acting in the Neverhood, or at least not as far as I can remember. Those first-person bits are absolutely amazing. Even the menu system is all done in claymation. So even your arrow moving around the screen to click on things is all done in claymation. It's brilliant. It's got a lot of music. It's got really thick claymation. It's kind of Chuchel-style weirdness, you know? And it's got like Myst-level hard puzzles as well. So it's got some really tough puzzles. But that 3D moving around is brilliant. So I get it. It's not the Neverhood. But you can't review a game based on what it isn't. That doesn't make any sense. You gotta make a review based on what it is. That's logical, right? Yeah. So if you go on Steam, it's just a bunch of people complaining that it's not the Neverhood. And it's not as good as the Neverhood. And they kickstarted it and they're disappointed. I get it. Because, yeah, the Neverhood is pretty amazing. Especially for what it was 20 years ago. But it's a shame because maybe that's going to put other developers off. They're like, well, I'm not wasting 5 years of my life if people are just going to shit all over my game. I'm not wasting 5 years of my life if people are just going to give me mixed reviews and say my game is garbage. Like, I put a lot of time and effort into this, and blood, sweat, and tears, and this is what I get. A mixed review on Steam from people who are always complaining that there's not enough of this genre, there's not enough of this on Steam. Why can't we get more of it? They get it, and they throw it out the window. Nah, I totally disagree with the mixed review.
As do I. I feel it deserves a positive. Maybe not an overwhelmingly positive. Because I definitely had some issues with some of the mechanics.
We have torn it apart pretty much today, but for good reason. It's not perfect, yeah, but for what it is, it's beautiful.
Sadly, I think that means if that's the case...
At least I think that's the case.
Then it means there's likely not going to be another one. Because they won't back it.
Yeah, maybe.
And as you said, maybe the developer doesn't want to go through that again. That's a lot of stress and a lot of energy and a lot of just emotion to deal with when creating something like that takes so long and to get that kind of reaction. Which is a shame, because this does feel like the type of game that could lead into a sequel. And the sequel, in theory, could be better. So, my hope is that maybe they'll come around. Maybe they'll give it a go anyway.
Or if it's licensable, maybe someone else will pick it up, even.
I would like to see more of this world. I'd like to see more of these characters. I love this sort of Saturday morning style of game with theme song, with characters they're very 2D, but that's kind of the point. You know who they are right away.
Yeah.
And if you just take it just a little bit further, which you would if you're doing subsequent stories.
Yeah.
I think that could work very well. I'm glad I played it. I will probably, a 5-hour game like this, I'll probably play again at some point. It just won't be anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. So we have to play Wallace and Gromit next now to keep our claymation fix. Keep chasing that high. Gaps filled and more gaps created.